Alpha Team. Come in.
This is Jill.
Does anybody hear me?
I hear you, Brad. Over.
Stars Alpha Team. Bravo Team. It doesn't matter. Respond. I repeat, this is Brad.
Brad? Brad!
This is Brad. If you can't answer me, somehow give me a sign.
Jill to Brad. Can you hear me? Brad! Brad! Shit. It's broken.
If you're still sticking around, this is John out here with you. We are done with the courtyard. We are making our way back to the mansion. A lot of the stuff walking back there was cut out because a lot of that you just didn't need to see. This is places you've already been. But you have the helmet key in tow, and there's still a few doors that you need to access in the mansion itself. So this is the time to go back there now with the helmet key to do that. There are not a lot of doors to go through, but there are some new enemy types and dangers to face. So once we get to that, we'll cut out when we get to the cinematic here and start walking you through the mansion itself. So the hunter is introduced now and the way back into the mansion. Having the assault shotgun, having the shotgun with you in general is an excellent tool because it pushes them back and deals heavy damage. You're going to be fighting a lot of these things. As I made mention too, if you have the self-defense gun with you, it probably makes sense. You can go ahead and take out any one of these hunters in one shot. They can leap from long bounds, they can cut your head off, they can do a lot of stuff. So you got to be very mindful of how much health you have and what your status is, because you can be one-shot and get killed. So what I'm going to do is just use this save point right now in this item box to get my stuff situated, because we're just going to go straight up the stairs where the wooden mount was, as you just see, and use the helmet key there for the first of 4 doors. So this puzzle is going to be shortened a little bit. I'm basically going to push this statue all the way against the wall, and then I'm going to cut where it's already pushed against the wall, run back to the right side, push the button, and then go back to where the statue is again and push it to the left. So you'll see it here. I'm making my way back. I'm going to go push the button, and then I will cut again and have it push right to the left. So you have to do this right now as the wall is going back in. If you run out of time, you're going to have to push the button again. So you cannot be killed as long as the statue is in front of you, so you don't have to worry about that. There is a dagger as soon as you open the store if you want to pick that up, another self-defense item. And you're going to be taken into a hole that's going to drop at your feet. You're not going to be able to get back up from this point, but there is a back way that you have to go to turn on the elevator power, and this elevator power is by where you play the piano in the Moonlight Sonata. So that is the back way to get the power on to be able to get a few other items that you need. So you had already met Lisa Trevor, the mutated experiment done from Umbrella. Now this is the story of her father, George Trevor, that was killed. And again, if you want to read any of that stuff slowly, feel free to pause the video. So down here, there's going to be plenty of opportunity for you to get poisoned. If you do get poisoned, and I would suggest throughout this whole run at this time, making your way back into the mansion, nothing wrong with taking a green, red, and blue herb mix. So that way you get full health and recovery from poison. Now there's the shotgun shells that you want to run and pick up in the map as well, but there's 3 spiders in this room, and there's not a lot of room for you to move around, but if you can, I would just try to move around all 3 of them, because if you do kill them, there is a chance that the poison will splatter and hit you anyway. So if you weren't already poisoned coming back from the courtyard walkway and those small snakes, then the spiders can poison you again, so you might as well try to run around as much of this stuff as possible. There's also a couple of zombies down in this corridor on your way to turning on the elevator power. So there are a lot of threats in a small space that can get you. So still, I would use the same strategies and use that shotgun and try to get some decapitations as much as possible. Now, I still have the grenade launcher in Jill's inventory. This might be a good time at this point in the game, as I haven't really done so in this walkthrough. If you use the incendiary rounds in the grenade launcher itself, it will burn the zombie bodies, and it will prevent you from having to use the lighter and the fuel canteen. I did not do a good job enough so far in this game of actually using that ammo. I had a lot of this stuff actually left over after beating the game. So it might be a good time to actually use some of those flame rounds and some of your more powerful weapons, if you do have them at this point, just to speed up the process of some of the things that you're going to be facing. But I still strictly forbid, if you have the Magnum in your inventory and you have plenty of rounds, save all that stuff for the end game. So right now my health was in danger status, so I automatically, got rid of all these threats and things like that. There's no reason to come back here, so you don't have to burn any of the other bodies, and it's a good time to get to full health. So now you're in a familiar territory. You're back where the elevator was going to be. So right when you use the sword key going all the way downstairs, where after that first zombie attacked Kenneth and you got the video, you can now use the elevator. So where that zombie was that I just walked past to get to the elevator, and then now taking the elevator up, there's going to be a lot of items. There's going to be some healing items, and there's going to be a battery that you have to pick up in order to proceed. So if you're using the flame rounds, again, you can dispose of the zombies without having to take them out. I did not. I still used the shotgun and the handgun, and I needed to use a little bit of the fuel canteen. So I'm going to cut out at this point, once I pick up some of these items and kill some of these zombies, cut out the fact that I have to burn them again, because I don't want them coming back, because I'm going to be going up to this area several times. If you were speed running and all of that, you would kind of, shy away from some of this stuff so you can get the game completed faster. But just be mindful, you're going to be coming back here picking up stuff. You probably don't have the inventory space. So I'm just going to show you what this other door unlocked really quickly. And this is where the first Crimson Head was. So now I've made my way through. I've burned the bodies. I've done everything else I needed to do down there. I've picked up the battery. I've picked up the ammunition and all of that. Now it's time to make our progress. So you see that door was completely ripped off by the hunter itself as he just jumped right out. So I'm just going to go ahead and dispose of this thing right here. If you use a couple shotgun shells, you've already softened it up enough. So I would recommend, if you have your handgun with you, it saves you a shotgun shell that you didn't have to use. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go right back to that item box, right where the broken shotgun was and all of that. I'm going to get rid of some of these other items that I have in here, and we're going to start opening up some of these helmet key doors. So conveniently, right after going from this item box, if you go right up the stairs and right to the right, there is another one of those helmet key doors that you can use the key on. So we'll meet you right back there. And just in case you missed it, here is, as soon as you open that, the elevator, the passageway, and everything else I just showed you when I disposed of all those zombies, you got acid rounds, you got shotgun shells, and the battery that you need to pick up. So don't forget any of that stuff, otherwise you're not going to be able to progress. So now we're making our way to that helmet key door, as I alluded to just earlier. Now this, I'm going to quickly shut the light off because there's a couple other items that you have to pick up. You need the red and yellow gemstones. So rather than me pushing the little platforms to jump on and showing all of that, I'm just going to pick up the red gemstone, the yellow gemstone, and then what you're going to need to do after that is push those back, pick up the dagger, pick up the grenade rounds, pick up everything else that you want to get in here, and then I'll also show you the little detail that was left on the fax, the mail to the chief of the security. So this flat out tells you right here at this point in the game, you're going to know at this point. STARS members, Chris and Jill, Barry and all of them pretty much, get disposed of, blow up the laboratory, blow up all the evidence, and see what happens with the T-virus. So flat out everything is already done there. So you're pretty much well aware of what's going on. So I made my way to the walkway where the herbs are, where you can heal yourself. At this point in the game, I want to make a mention of, again, these hunters can jump from any leaps and bounds and kill you in a one shot depending on what your health is. I'm trying to traverse through some of the areas that I've already cleared, because if you screw around and you walk around areas you've already been in the match, you're going to have to fight tons and tons of hunters. So the very entrance, right when you walked in, when the game first cutscene, there was a helmet key door right there. That's the one I opened next. And then the very last helmet key door is going to be where the first Crimson Head was, where you had to use the imitation of a key. So we are going to do that last. So this is the third of 4 helmet key doors. So you're not really missing anything. I've just kind of sped up some of the backtracking. So if you do get lost, you can kind of just rewind the video and pause at some point. But this is all the stuff in its entirety. I've just cut out a lot of the backtracking. Pretty cool sequence here. There's a mirror behind you so you can see where the zombie's coming. Don't need to worry about burning the body or doing anything else because there's no reason to come back here. You just want to pick up the jewelry box. And if you need to, you can make a note that there's blue herbs to cure you from poison and things like that. So you can use the red gemstone on the jewelry box, and you might want to pause here to have the solution for this. You want to use the big pieces on the end, and that'll help you get through the jewelry box. But be honest with you guys, that probably is a puzzle that takes me a little while to complete because the pieces are kind of finicky and they get stuck together. So the emblem key door opens that shortcut by where the graveyard was and all of that. That's the Spencer doorway. That's the only door that you will use that key for. So this is completely optional. One of the items is, at least. If you have the Mo disc and you grab that in there, that's one of the things, depending on who you play as, frees the other partner. So you can free Chris or Jill having 3 Mo discs at the end of the game. So now we've made our way to the final door in the mansion to open with the helmet key. You're going to get a familiar fight, and this is one that you can also use cheap-ass tactics on. And I showed a little bit of this, and I'm going to make a little annotation here in this video after the commentary is done before I forget and have this uploaded. Because you can make this the easiest fight in the game if you want to take a little more time and take pot shots. So, going down this ladder as Yawn follows you down there, if you take a couple pot shots with any one of your weapons, as long as you conceive that it's doing damage to them, you'll see that by that little spatter of blood. When you go back up the animation to go up the ladder, you cannot be harmed. So you can do this as some cheap-ass tactics to stop you from even taking any damage against Yawn if you choose. It does take a while, especially, but if you have a lot of handgun bullets, I had almost 100 there, you can use it to kind of soften them up. So I kind of got bored of that a little bit. I used the shotgun a little bit. finishes him off and he slams his giant head into the bookshelf, which gets you the other metal book that you need. So now you have the wolf medal and the eagle medal, and you'll be using that a little later in the game. So hold on to that stuff and hold on to that metal object, because we're going to need that later. I don't even fight these, I'm just going to run through. You see I still have the yellow gemstone in my inventory. We are going to go do that to pick up the Mo disc. So now, basically, with all the doors open in the mansion, you have the Mo disc, you have the stone and metal objects, you defeated Yawn, you've got everything else in there. Now there is no point to go back into the mansion anymore. Every door has been opened except for one that you have not seen yet. We will talk about that later as we get further in this walkthrough. So what you're going to want is the square crank in your inventory and the battery. If you do not have both of those things, you cannot progress. So I'm going to show you here that briefly at this item chest before I go back out. So basically all we did was just go back outside, go up that ladder again. You have to dodge these snakes once again, and if you get poisoned, you can heal yourself up a little bit. Just be mindful. If you have not killed some of the other dogs and stuff on your previous way from the courtyard here, be armed, because they can take you out if you're poisoned, because your health will slowly drop over time. We're going to be getting close here at the end of this video, but when we get into the next section of the Resident Evil walkthrough, we're going to take you in through the caves. We're getting pretty close to getting done with the game. See, if you have the shotgun, multiple enemies in view, sometimes you can get a piece of both. That's what makes the shotgun such a great weapon. So all I'm doing is pretty much cutting straight down. I just kind of cut out a little of the walking there. Use the battery there. Take the ramp up now that you have access to, and use that square crank, and then take the same ramp down again. And that will open up the caves for you. What it does is it just moves the water, because you don't need to cross that bridge anymore with the ladder. You're taking the other ramp that you just put the battery in. So it's a convenient workaround to open up the next area. But again, if you do not have the battery and the square crank, you can't really go anywhere. So don't forget those items. So now we're going to cut back to where you need to be. Just right back, take that ramp down again, and now you have access because the water is out of the way. This is going to take you right into the mines. So this is John Ott signing off for the Resident Evil Walkthrough Remake Part 6. I'm going to drop some of my stuff in the item box here, and then we're going to get you set in the next section in Part 7 to start going through the mines and making headway and real progress in the game. So I appreciate you guys sticking around. We'll be right back for the next section. Have a good one, everybody.